Hi everybody, my name's Angela Towndrow and today I'm having a chat with Kate Quinn. Kate's one of our master's students in the Integrated Human Studies program, and we're very fortunate to have her as part of our group because she is a professional educational technologist, which means she knows more about this stuff than probably all of us. And you may have seen quite a lot of her posts that have been very helpful in the forums in IHS. Anyway, today we're actually going to have a little chat about how we can use some of these online tools for learning to not only enhance our experience in integrated human studies, but how we can use them, in our professional lives well beyond the course. So, Kate, today I thought that we could talk rather than focusing on how technology impacts on our lives and whether Google makes us dumber or all those sort of normal conversations, how we can talk about the sort of powerful ways that the internet can help us with our learning. And I think if we start off with talking about what we don't want to talk about, what for us in this conversation the internet is not going to be about, and that might introduce what it is going to be about. So you think that's a good place to start?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good place to start, sure. There's so many freely available tools out there that allow us to connect with others and share our ideas that I think it's easy to get lost with all the tools that don't do that. So, like you said, start off with what it's not. Online tools for learning is not Facebook. It's not sharing memes of babies and kittens and puppies or anything silly like that. That's entertainment. What online tools for learning is, or refers to, is tools that allow for participation. They're intellectual, they allow for engagement, they allow you to collaborate, like you and I are collaborating on Hangouts right now. They allow you to curate information and gather resources together, interesting papers or articles around the topic that you're researching, gathering resources for your projects, for example. It's about resourcefulness, and it's also quite revolutionary depending on what kind of platform you're using and what audience you're gathering together. So some of these tools, our fellow students will be familiar with, such as Google+, Tumblr and Scoop.it, and these are all things that we're already exposed to in IHS. And I think we're going to stick with looking at those today and kind of show people how, I'm using it as an individual person and as a student, and how, Angela, you're using it to disseminate knowledge as part of the IHS program beyond the walled structure that is Moodle.
Okay, well, perhaps before we talk about how social media can actually be central to this sort of learning process, why don't we just talk briefly about how we're using Moodle. Obviously Moodle is our, a learning management system that it's a formal place where we can present class material, and obviously we present the resources that everybody uses each week. Plus, it's a place to submit your assignments and to get your assessments. But we're already using the Moodle in a social way through the forums. So we engage weekly in the forums, and they're a good place to discuss some of the ideas that we look at with the other students. It's quite a safe place. You can formulate your own ideas. You can share them with people. You can use them as a sounding board. See how well they're received. You can learn things from other people's different perspectives, but that's sort of quite closed within your unit. We can then sort of move outwards to the graduate commons. So from time to time we see people sharing in ideas with people across the other units, but it is a fairly closed place. And once you finish your time in the program, then unless you've made a particular effort to get people's contact details, then that kind of door closes to some extent. So yeah, I think we'd call it a closed shop in some respects. So if we look at things outside of that we can engage in, obviously Google Plus is one of those areas that we can talk with everybody, a little bit like the Graduate Commons across all the units. But if you have a look at all the people who are a member of that community, you'll see past students in there, past tutors, people who've been associated. So we would sort of call that, Kate, do you think, like a sort of community of inquiry, so that we're all in there together, you know, not necessarily getting information so that we can study it, but we're just sharing things that are of common interest to a wider group. And that extends beyond, you know, when you finish your certificate or diploma, then that space is still there. Those people are still in there.
You know,
So in that
you
sense,
made
it's...
sorry.
No.
You made a very good point there in talking about going beyond Moodle as well. You know, we've all enrolled in this program for a reason. We've got some reason why we chose integrated human studies over doing something that's more discipline orientated, like sociology or anthropology or ecology, or something that is really boxed in. Integrated human studies, as we've all learned in our units, is about being transdisciplinary. It's about being across everything. So when we can come in, and in the kind of walled space or the closed space of Moodle, we've got a very safe environment for us to explore transdisciplinarianism and to explore ideas about sustainability and all the different topics that we cover in each of our units. But what are we going to do with that once we leave? Is it something that we come and we experience for 6 months or 3 years, and then we walk away a changed person, but we don't actually do anything with our knowledge? Or do we harness the tools that we've got available to us to start disseminating everything that we're learning? And IHS is very much a new field of inquiry, and it's a new approach to big issues. And as we all know, we've got these wicked problems that need to be discussed and need to be talked about. And stepping outside of the playground that we've got in our learning management system, we're able to start engaging with other people in the safe environment of the Google Plus community, where we've got people at different levels of their study and in different units, or postgraduates, or former tutors. And then we can slowly step out a little bit more and expand that community of inquiry into other people that we meet through our networks, and slowly grow and start mainly disseminating everything that we're learning and sharing it out.
Can I just ask one thing here, Kate? Something that might bother some students is their concept of Google, and how safe that space is, how private, because we do have that area set as open to the public, and so people can see it. Some people might not understand how the community works, how circles work, how Mark, Neville and I and staff and students, how do you see it that we all kind of function in this space together that can be seen from the outside world? I can't imagine people are, sitting there watching what we say and what we do all the time, but, that information is available. So how would you tell students that they could feel about that?
There's certainly nothing to fear, because there's nothing that we're putting up there that is really stretching that ourselves. We're sharing other people's content. So we'll look at the community in a moment, but when we look at the resources we've put up there, we've shared, documents, web pages, videos, things that we've engaged in. So it's not necessarily stuff that we've created ourselves that's going out there in the community. So there's nothing to be afraid of. It's simply saying to people beyond, if you think of the Graduate Commons, how often do we embed YouTube videos into Moodle to share with students who aren't in the small community of the one unit that we're doing? It's not really the space to do that, and the Graduate Commons ends at the end of each semester, so it doesn't flow through year after year. Something like the community is something that, in 18 months' time, a new student can go into, and they've suddenly got in front of them, they've got all these resources that we've all together collaborated in gathering together, resources that are of interest to us across the different units that we're doing. And they can go through and they can look at interesting videos we've put up, they can read documents that we've found. If we're brave enough, if we want to, we can share our own projects on the EWF Tumblr, and fellow students and other people out there in academia and research in this field can find those things. It's whether or not you're ready to step out with your own voice. But something like the community now is for sharing things that you find interesting. So it's about making your own personal learning network.
So we're not really using it much at the moment to chat, are we? Like I've noticed that we seem to be putting resources up now, and some things, you know, obviously grab some people's imagination, other things don't, and that's the beauty of it. But, you know, we could just as easily be having a discussion. And so that area does lend itself, you know, because you've got your little photo there and it's very visible, you know, unlike the Graduate Commons where you've got to make several clicks to find something embedded deep down, several layers beneath. Everything's sort of there. So you can get to know people, and perhaps in time that could be an area where you could actually challenge people if you felt brave enough. Add your thoughts to things, that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, it would be really great to get to that kind of level, but of course it's a matter of what you want to get out of that and how expressive you want to be, whether you want to curate and share or whether you want to express. Now, the beauty of Google Plus, Google, as we know, is the biggest search engine out there. So when you start putting things on Google Plus on a wider circle, not in our community, but in the wider spectrum, and later on down the track you might have a blog or some other kind of media, Google then associates it with who you are. So it's like a professional profile. So if you're studying IHS for professional purposes in the future, whether that's to be an academic or whether it's to grow a professional profile, say that, you know, you want to go into human rights, later on down the track when people Google you, they'll be able to find information that you've put on your social media sites, like your Google Plus page, and see the conversations that you have. And by building up a community inquiry like the IHS community, we're having high-level academic discussions and sharing resources. It's not Facebook and we're sharing silly memes that are jokes. You know, we're talking about high-level things. This is very good professionally.
Well, I must say, Mark and I, when we first set the community up, were having a bit of an experiment as to how it would work, and we put a couple of things up about geoengineering, you know, what do we think of this and what do we think of that, and then out of the blue, somebody from Norwich, I think, in England, or Norfolk, put a resource there, which was actually a video of a talk that they'd had from an American expert had come to their university. It was a very small situation. They'd videotaped it. It's not available on YouTube. It's not available anywhere else. And she just said, oh, you might like to look at this, which gave us a completely different perspective. And we just thought, wow, this person dropped in, put this there. We had a bit of a chat and away she went. And we realised at that moment how very powerful this could be. So, you know, I think once you start a bit of a dialogue, because Mark and I had shared a few conversations at that early spot, I think you can probably find it there down the bottom of the community somewhere if you scroll to the early start of it. So yeah, it is a very powerful thing, no question.
What I'd like to do is go in and bring up the screenshot of my own Google Plus area, and I'll explain how it's become my personal learning environment, how I've got space for my own things, because you've got two different spaces in Google Plus. You've got your own profile with your own network, which can be IHS, but it can be other things as well. And for me, it's definitely a variety of different things that I'm involved in. And then you've got communities such as our IHS community that you can participate in. And I'd like to show everyone the difference between the two.
Terrific.
And the kind of benefit that you can get from that.
Okay, well, if you just bring that screen share up, Kate, I'll let you know if I can see that.
Okay, can you see
That's
that?
good. Lovely and clear, thank you.
Okay, so this is now what I see when I first log into Google+. This is a stream of all the content that I can see. We've got people like this chap here. He is not part of IHS, but he is a professional in the e-learning industry that I've been following for about 7 years. So we're mates on a few different social networking sites like Twitter as well. You can see that we're sitting here and we're hanging out.
Very good, real time.
This is a blog that I follow. So this guy is very much an activist, and he's interested in the population growing to 9 billion. So he talks and kind of collates all sorts of information about climate and the environment and, you know, what's happening with population. So his posts are often sharing his own blog post from his own blog and then adding an additional comment to it, which you can see up here as well. Further down, this is visible only to people who are members of the IHS community, but it comes up in my feed, so I can see it all in one place. I don't need to go into a particular space to find information about IHS.
You can see there, Kate, along the top where it says Angela Towndrow, 1101 edited. Sorry, everybody, I did fix that date. Limited. I think that's the key thing to know who you're talking to.
Absolutely. And if we go down here and we compare, we've got public. If we look at the Hangout that we had earlier when we were testing Google Hangouts, limited again, only I can see that post. We go down further again.
We've had a few guys.
We've got another one here, which is this is a person that I used to work with. Here we go, a community post from the IHS community. And you can see as well, when you hover over it, you can see which subtopic it was part of as well. So as you can see, as we go down through this, I've got a range of things. You know, this is Rachel's one of our fellow students, and she's got her own public feed that she's using for her own blog posts as well. So this is something that's not necessarily part of the IHS community, but Rachel is now part of my wider personal learning network, the person that I've connected with, and you know, we might connect on a topic that's outside of IHS, but we've met each other through IHS, if that makes sense.
And I might add here too, Kate, that, you know, when Rachel's posted her photos, whether, I'm not sure if she's aware of it or not, but she's made the decision to make those public so we can all see them, but she could equally have decided, look, I just want to share that with Kate and put Kate's name, or I want to share that with Grandma or IHS or whoever. So, you know, it's your choice.
And that's where these circles come in as well. You can make circles based on whatever kind of topic you want. So I've got a few different topics here as well. I could add my family members who are on Google Plus to here and just put a post out to them. Say I'm researching family history or genealogy. I just want to publish that out to the family. I don't want everyone to read about that necessarily. So that would be closed off. If we have a look further in here, we can go over to the communities button and you can see that IHS comes up, and we'll now step into the community and have a look and see the difference. So you know that this is different from a profile because you've got the menu down the side here, which generally says that where we are in this space, and we can see who's a member of the space as well. And then we can go down and see all the different topics that have gone out to the community only. So this is what I was talking about, things like resources. You know, in 18 months' time, Dan's video that is put up here will still be there. Whereas if it was on the Graduate Commons, it wouldn't be visible to anybody anymore. So, you know, future students and anyone else who's interested in IHS can come and access these resources. And we've got all sorts of information up here as well. You know, here's an article that you've found. Now, with the web and the fact that it's ever changing, it's really easy to lose interesting articles that you read, especially if they are current. You know, when you Google for a topic about 3D printing, you're going to find hundreds of thousands, if not millions of results. So if you want to find the one that you particularly talk about, we can find that in the community. So we're curating shared knowledge that's of relevance to our community.
I could add too at this point, Kate, that, you know, as tutors, you know, obviously there's, you know, quite often a lot of reading material in the weekly topics, and we, you know, for the most part try to make it reasonably balanced between academic sources and non-academic sources, but sometimes there are some that, you know, we might find afterwards, just like a student might find something that's related to what we're doing. You know, we can use this space as well, you know, to put something, you know, if we would put that back in the Moodle resources, everybody would think, oh, you know, I must read this, or, you know, write an essay about it or something, whereas this allows us just to share things of interest that might have not made it into those weekly topics, or that just might be of more general interest rather than being of some particular academic style.
Yeah, and I'll show you something else as well, the way that you can connect people as individuals, like you and I can connect individually and we connect as part of the community. You just would click upon someone's profile, for instance, and you can add them to circles, you can add them to your personal learning network. So who's somebody who I don't have connected, or do I have everybody? Okay, Amber, for instance, I've got connected in the IHS community, but I might want to make her a friend. And this means that her posts, any post that she writes herself, will appear on my own personal feed of people's posts. So as we can see that someone's made a page here on something that's not related to IHS. But when I go back to my home, her posts will appear in this space. So this is kind of how we delineate between the two different spaces that we've got here. We've got home, which is everything that's of relevance to me, and it's people who are IHS and it's people who aren't, it's people I know through other areas. And then we've got the community, which is our community of inquiry around that topic. And the other thing I think that would be really good to show is the Tumblr as well, which is another way that we can kind of curate information like this. But it's more about having, in a way, a publishing space where we can publish our own thoughts alongside resources as well.
So we would call Tumblr a microblogging site. So I don't know what you would call Google. I suppose it's a little. The Google Plus we're talking is a little bit like Facebook in the sense that it's a social media site. Tumblr is officially too, but you would call it microblogging. So it's your own blog space, which is like a little mini website where you can write things. I think the intention of Tumblr is to be much bigger than Twitter, but probably smaller than a blog. And many people, as you will say, Kate, have also got their own website or blog that they might have kind of running in tandem with Tumblr. So Tumblr might introduce some concepts, and we're going to use that with our projects in a similar kind of way. So how about we have a bit of a look at Tumblr?
Yeah. Do you want to the EWF one first, or shall I go
Well, I'll show everybody on the screen share. If you can just tell me if this one comes through. Let's see.
Now, just while you're looking at another point about Google, Google's becoming a lot more seamless. So it's a social networking site, but that's not really the best way to describe it. YouTube is a separate platform. It's becoming a lot more integrated with Google. It's owned by Google, and it soon will be that you'll be able to record videos straight into Google Plus, and they'll go up to YouTube just like our Hangout will, and the two sites will almost become undistinguishable from one another. So this is happening a lot more with the Google resources as well. Email becomes social networking, becomes YouTube video. So it really is the way of the future. And with something like Google Glasses coming up, the future is here right now. It's not something that we're waiting to happen or it's going to happen in the future. It's ubiquitous with us now.
Some people might not be comfortable about that. I certainly think I had to reach a sort of threshold point where I just thought, well, they own me. I don't know whether they own me or not, but equally, I have a lot of benefits from using their service, and I think you just learn to keep your private sphere offline. Things you just don't want there, you keep offline, but things that are very useful, like the things we share, we're not into kind of any subversive activities through IHS, so it's kind of fine.
That's a really good point as well, especially because Google uses our real identities. You think of it as something professional. So if myself or my fellow students want to make a professional profile as researchers or academics in the area of integrated human studies, this is a great place to start because this will be connected with our online profile. When people search for us in Google, they will find our Google Plus profile.
And equally, if you wanted to make your Google Sites public, you could. And the other thing that Google has is Blogger. So if you want to set up your own website or a blog site, there are other things that are very much integrated into the system. But we don't really want to sort of go into that too much now. If I bring my Tumblr up now, you've got a screen share, Kate? Oh, okay, sorry. Do you want to go back to that? I don't know what we're looking at now.
No, that's okay.
Am I sharing mine? You can see that? Okay. I have to find it again. Hang on, where is it? Okay, so this is the feed page for Tumblr. So a little bit like with Google Plus, this would be what we would call the home page, which you get to by clicking little home. And these are things that we've EWF, which is the sort of umbrella body for integrated human studies, has decided that we want to follow. So we're following somebody, Emergent Futures. I think you follow them too, Kate, don't you? Emergent Futures. So we've got what their latest posting is, more Emergent Futures. Social change in the preteen brain, climate adaptation. Not sure what this one is, but here we go. Yeah, there we go. Futurist foresight. So, well, it stands to reason that we would be, because we have similar interests in that. Here's one for, I think it's Kane, maybe, who's doing the war on drugs for his project. So he might be interested in that one, Caribbean drug smugglers. So yeah, this is a similar sort of home page. But if you then click on Education for World Futures, this takes you, I think,
and that'll
to
your particular Tumblr.
That's right. So this is what we've been posting. And we've put an example up here, actually, for how we would possibly like you to present your project. So this was actually a project when I was a student that I did with Tracy Taylor, who's doing 5809. So all I've done here is taken the main image from our website and the front page, which is probably 200 or 300 words. And what we've done is linked to, read the full story. So if we clicked on that, that takes you to the website. But, you don't need to use Tumblr in that way. But it is a way so that people who are on Tumblr can see that and then go to the resource if you want. So it does lend itself, I think, Kate, to... You might talk about the different ways you can use it, and different ways you can present things, either as a visual or as text. So if I I'll stop my screen sharing. You might want to bring yours up.
Yep. Okay. So as people can see, that mine looks very similar to yours. We follow similar kinds of people. I've got the same one from climate adaptation that you do too. If we go through that. And I've got all sorts of other interesting things. I follow Stanford Business. I've got a whole heap of architecture and a few documentary filmmakers like this guy here, to get all sorts of interesting things about, my interests are in urban environment as well as technology and design and a whole heap of different things. So this is what I've curated for my interests. I love this photo of Egypt being on top of one of the pyramids. It's very naughty. So if I go back up to the top and I click on Notebook, Notebook is simply the name of my Tumblr. I refer to it as notebook of things that I'm interested in. If I click on that, this here is my posts. And when I click on the actual URL, I go to my web page. So this is what my Tumblr actually looks like. And as you can see, I've got a little bit of information about myself. I've got different links down the side. I've even integrated other social networks with my Twitter feed. Over here we've got things like quotes, we've got videos that I've found interesting, and where it says via down the bottom, it means that I've found it by somebody else and I've reshared it. So this is the beauty of something like Tumblr, where you can find information and you can share and you can kind of collaborate and disseminate information. If we go back to Tumblr page here, now I've got in another tab at the top, I've got quotes from a futurist. And what I want to do is put a quote up on my page today. Perhaps I'm reading something and I want to remember that phrase. So I'll grab this quote here and I'll go back to my Tumblr and I'll click quote. I'll just paste the quote in there, go back, copy and paste the URL, and I can give it a tag of futures, for instance, and then publish that. So that's now published to my feed. And if I go back to my website, to my Tumblr, you can see that I've got the quote up there now. Now, when I've been working on my projects and I'm reading all sorts of interesting information, you know, even perhaps for a project, you can create a Tumblr of resources like this, depending on how you format your project and what it's on. But especially for gathering information together, you know, I find this is a really beautiful way of keeping information. Now, I could have printouts and printouts of all kinds of documents with yellow highlights over paragraphs, or I can curate my own collection of things that are meaningful to me, present them beautifully, and show the world that this is what I'm interested in. So disseminating information, but it's also very easy for me to come back and refer to it as well. I can find it really simply. No.
So, Kate, people can follow you, obviously, if they're interested in what you're doing, but can they interact with you? Can they comment or have a chat too?
You can. It depends if you've got that set up. So what other people can do is reblog my content. So I'll go into someone else's Tumblr. So what I can do is reblog. Depends if they've got it set up. Generally with Tumblr, it's not like a blog where you comment and interact. It's more about sharing and reblogging. You can see up the top here now that I can like it. So I can click the heart and I can create a whole heap of likes. Or I can reblog, which will then post that on my page. So I can put that onto mine. So this is currently on her page. I can click reblog and it would show up on my page. So that's where it's more about curating rather than having a conversation. And the thing about this, especially for you know, our IHS students and collaborators, is that we haven't actually talked to anyone outside of IHS yet. It's not scary. It's all about yourself as an individual, curating information that's of interest to you and sharing it with people who are interested in the same things.
Well, I think that when, you know, we look at our projects, for example, if you have got a project that you are interested in sharing just because it's worthwhile, and hopefully we've all done a project that is worthwhile, you know, it's not just about really just displaying it for the world to see, which, you know, or the Tumblr world, but it, you know, also will let you connect with other people interested, won't it? And you may develop those sort of relationships. So somebody, you might be able to put on Tumblr, you know, your Twitter address if you use that, or other ways that people could contact you or collaborate if that's what you wanted to do. So you can kind of create avenues for further discussions with people that want to.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think this really goes back to one of the resources from one of the early units in IHS where we look at Steve Johnson's Where Ideas Come From, and the conclusion that ideas come from the meeting of minds, and when two minds clash together and have a brainwave and are able to do things and innovate. By staying within a closed environment of, you know, the small group of IHS students, we can meet people to collaborate with. But the beauty and the power that we've got in having these three tools, like the ones we looked at now, is that we can go out there and we connect with experts and like-minded individuals and other people and start creating a network of people interested in what we're interested in, and maybe just come across that right person whose clash of mind will allow us to do whatever our big thing is.
Well, when we finish this chat, Kate, I'll put that that TED, it was an RSA talk, I think. We'll put that up in the Google Plus community so everybody can be inspired. Look, before we wind up here, I think we should just quickly mention Scoop.it. It might look like there's some overlap with Scoop.it and Tumblr, and you know, indeed, there's overlap with all these different tools, really. And you know, you'll ultimately choose the ones that are of the most use to you. But we have introduced it in the early weeks, but unfortunately we haven't really focused on them. Scoop.it is a curation tool. It's a kind of bookmarking tool that you can use. It's a very simple thing to use. You can get a little plug-in that just goes up on the top of your browser, particularly if you're using Google Chrome. And if you're just looking at you know, once you've sort of joined up with Scoop.it, if you're just looking at a web page and you think, yes, I love this, you just hit that little button up on the top and it will immediately save it into a Scoop.it that you've set up. So how about I do a screen share for that one?
Yeah.
And we'll just have a quick look. We might have seen them through in the Moodle. Can you see that one?
Yeah, okay.
It brings that up. So basically what it does is, if you know, instead of, for example, if you see something that you like and you think, well, I'll put that into, I'll copy that link and save it somewhere so I can find it later, or write it down. This is a very quick way to just save it here. So I've collected a few here. This is Paul Ehrlich's site at Stanford, a little bit about transhumanism. This is our website, the EWF website. What is this one here? Something else. Tumblr, that's our Tumblr. So you could then just click on those, but everybody else can see these too. So another way that's really good is if you're really interested in transhumanism, for example, and then you do a little search on Scoop.it for other people that are interested in transhumanism, you'll probably find somebody else has a collection of resources that they like. You can scoop their whole Scoop.it. So all of a sudden, you know, going from a few resources, one single one of those little blocks could have 10, 100, I don't know what the maximum number you can have, but you know, you can find yourself really being able to quickly build up resources in this way. We thought, Kate, that we would use them in IHS so that students, because you know, students do contribute a lot of resources through their references in the forums and things like that. You know, also seems a shame that they also get lost at the end of the semester when we kind of put the site into, you know, hibernation or archive it. We had thought that the Scoop.it was a good way to collect all those things into the one spot, and then they're available for everybody. So those Scoop.its still exist if anybody does want to contribute to them. But is there anything else that you would like to add? I'll stop screen sharing now, Kate.
Scoop.its I find, you know, let's say you're browsing research for one of your projects and you come across, you know, let's say 20 articles that you're interested in, and you don't want to put them in your EndNote library straight away, for instance, and if you bookmark them on your browser, you might lose your bookmarks, or you might forget what they were called, and it's easy to kind of lose this stuff. Scoop.it is great for that. You don't want to fill up your Google Plus stream or the IHS community stream with 20 different resources that are relevant only for your project. You don't want to put them on your Tumblr because your Tumblr is meant to be kind of nice, beautiful things that you want to share, particular things. It's again, you know, a stack of articles that you've found that are relevant for one piece of research. Scoop.it is great for gathering all that stuff together. So then when you look at it, and if you, can you bring up yours again, Brittany?
Yeah.
You can see how it's displayed in kind of boxes, and you've got a really, really good overview. If you scroll down a little bit, we can see at a glance what all those topics are about. So again, we've got 20 articles for our project. You might have put notes in against those articles so we can remember later on. So a couple of weeks later, when I'm going together to write my final project piece, I can go into my Scoop.it and go, yep, that's the article I want to quote. You know,
that's right. And we do
resources that I want to use.
So the visual prompt's quite a good thing for our memory because, you know, particularly as you say, if you're doing a project, they're all going to be very similar titles, and at least this way, you know, you've got other prompts to remember. Oh yes, that's right. That was That was this one. So, you know, and plus you've got a little tiny introduction to each one, so it's helpful.
Yeah. So that's the difference between the different environments that we're talking about here. You know, Google Plus is the space for us to collaborate and talk and share things where we want to share it with the group of people within our learning network or our community of inquiry. Tumblr is where we want to publish things that are of importance to us. Scoop is where we want to curate information that we want to use for some particular reason, like a project.
Okay, well look, I think we might wrap this up now, Kate. I think we've pretty much said everything. We'll post this video into Google Plus. You'll find it there, but we'll also put it into. How about we scoop it and we tumblog it? Do you tumblog it? We'll put it in our. We'll tumblog it, we'll scoop it, and we'll put it in the Graduate Commons, and that way everybody can get it. But we really do hope that you know, from watching this, you can get a sense of how you know, I mean, there's many more uses that we haven't talked about, you know, for these things, but it's a good introduction. And thanks very much, Kate, once again for your expertise, and we hope that all the students and tutors in IHS are suitably inspired. So thank you very much for your time.
No worries. And if anyone needs a how-to, they can get in contact with me. And the other thing is, I would really like people to either hop on Google Plus or hop into the Graduate Commons and share the URL for their Tumblr and their Google Plus page so we can go and follow each other.
Great idea. All right, we'll see you within one of those spaces.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, bye.